Hey everyone, welcome to the Bay Area Content Marketing Meetup. It's our second to last meetup of this crazy 2020. Really happy to have Amy Fair here. Amy and I met in 2019 at Content Marketing World in Cleveland. Of course, it was virtual this year. Amy is going to talk about the title of her talk is Work Your Network, Leveraging the Strength Behind Professional Relationships. Amy recently went through a job search and used her network to the utmost. Without further ado, Amy, I'll hand things over to you, and thanks for joining us today.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I have a few slides, but they're very chill. So, all right. Awesome. Well, again, thank you for having me. My name is Amy Fair. I'm actually based in Dallas. So really excited to have the opportunity to talk to you guys today about networking and, really leveraging the strength behind relationships. Um, I'm going to talk today about a little bit about me, how I got here, why I'm here talking to you guys, but then also give you some tips and tricks on how to build and work your network. And then I also wanted to kind of relate how what we do as content marketers around audience acquisition and nurture tactics can then translate into our professional networks as well. So here I am. I come to you all with about 15 years of B2B IT marketing experience. I've held marketing roles at EDS, HP, HPE, and most recently, I kind of pivoted into the telecom industry, which is why I'm here talking to you guys today. That change in my career was brought about by something that happened to me recently regarding a layoff. So that is why I am here today to talk to you about my experience in my job search and how I think my network showed up for me in my time of need, but then also how we give back to our network as well. So I want to preface my whole conversation with a disclaimer in that I know that my experience in my job search was super unique. Um, Pandemic or not, finding a job in the short amount of time that I did is amazing. But again, it's very much a testament to my network and the people who support me. So, I'm keenly aware that my experience is unique. And my intent is definitely not to brag, but I'd really like to share my story and my experience to give people hope. So wanted to start off with that. So what happened to me? A couple months ago, I was in a job that I loved. I absolutely loved it. I felt comfortable, maybe a little too comfortable. But on October 1st, I got essentially blindsided by a layoff. And looking back on it, I feel silly thinking that, this was something that would come to me out of the blue. But, it wasn't my first rodeo. I have been laid off before. But, the job that I was doing, I felt like I was being really productive, a good member of the team. The work that we were doing was a data protection company. So with the pandemic, you know, the services that we were providing were, I thought, pretty essential. But when it came down to it, it was just kind of, my time. Um, I've worked in situations in the past where there's constantly layoffs looming. And I've actually sat in a cubicle before, kind of waiting to be that next person to get tapped out. But in this particular job, I was not expecting it. Um, and it hit me really hard. It was definitely a gut punch. But I think a lot of people are experiencing that, especially more recently, unfortunately. So I was sitting in my call, getting laid off, and I was actually already getting on my phone, texting people that I was losing my job. The very first person that I messaged was my friend Joy, who had actually gotten me this job. She had interviewed for it initially, said that it wasn't a fit for her, but knew that I was looking for something new and basically just dropped this opportunity in my lap. So as I'm sitting there on the call with the HR manager and my boss, getting laid off, I'm texting Joy, hey, I just lost my job. And I wasn't texting her to blame her or make her feel bad, but she's like my person. So I know that I can always turn to Joy and she will help me no matter what. So I wanted her to be the first to know that I was getting laid off, and then she really continued to support me throughout this whole experience. So one of my other connections is Nancy, and she's one of the next people that I messaged in this whole whirlwind experience. And the day before, Nancy had gotten a job opportunity sent to her that she wasn't interested in and just kind of brushed off. But when I messaged her, she said, hey, I literally just got this job yesterday. It looks like they wrote it based on your experience and based on your resume. Let me know if you want me to set, connect you with the recruiter. So I got laid off on a Thursday, which is kind of an odd day to get laid off, but my plan was to take Friday to update my resume because here I was in a job I loved, comfortable as could be. I hadn't touched my resume in 2 years. So if you get nothing out of this conversation, if you get nothing else out of this conversation, always have your resume updated. But so on Friday, I worked with Nancy or with Joy to update my resume and then really hit the ground running on Monday after enjoying the weekend with my family to look for a new job. And that whole week was just crazy because Monday the recruiter got my resume and we had a conversation. On Wednesday, I interviewed with the hiring manager, who was a mutual connection between me and Nancy and who I had worked with before in the past. And then by Thursday, I had officially been offered and accepted the job. So again, it was a crazy, crazy whirlwind week. And I am so humbled just by the outpouring of support from my network. And that's why I'm here today to really talk to you guys about my experiences in the past with developing my network and then building that network and growing it and using it, and then how that relates to content marketing. So with that, this is my super simple slide, but this is just to kind of guide the conversation. When it comes to building your network, there are so many opportunities to meet people, anywhere from industry groups that you participate in to church activities to, fitness groups. You never know where those connections might lead you to, and there's always people that will support you. So these are just a few of my tips and advice for ways that you can help build your network. So first of all, take the lead. If you see an opportunity where a gap needs to be filled, fill it. Prime example of that is this group right here. Dennis saw the need for a community of content marketers in a certain area, and he created this amazing community. And being in the pandemic, I am now able to also participate from a virtual perspective, coming live to you guys from Dallas, Texas, but broadening that network even more beyond the Bay Area. So, the virtual world gives us an opportunity to really expand our horizons. And I think that, Dennis, with you being recognized as a community champion by the Content Marketing Institute, that's a true testament to great things that can come, from identifying a need and taking that leadership role and just running with it. Personally, I did something similar at a job I had where they were starting to put together employee resource groups. And for me, I was really passionate about the women's group, but nobody was really taking the lead on it. So I raised my hand and I took the lead. And by doing so, I was able to open myself up to different people in different groups within the company. We were putting together, career development presentations or putting on community service events. And so that was kind of my way of filling that gap. So if you see an opportunity, jump on it and take that leadership role, and don't be afraid to do something like that. Keep it personal. So I don't know if people will necessarily agree with my approach, but when it comes to like LinkedIn connections, I am very picky. I feel like we're constantly getting inundated with connection requests. But for me, early on in my career, I made it a mandate that to actually accept a connection with somebody, I needed to have some kind of personal interaction with you. So, I have some wiggle room on that, but for me, it's very important to know who I'm connecting with. And for me, that really keeps up the integrity of my network for me personally. But I don't want to get my feed cluttered with random things. I want to, I have that control over my audience, if you will. So this presentation also counts as a personal connection. So I had put my LinkedIn information on the first slide, and I would be more than happy to connect with you all because this definitely counts as a personal connection for me. All right, get out of your comfort zone. My example for this is last year when I attended Content Marketing World for the first time. Never been to Cleveland before in my life. I'd never been to this conference before. And I was going as the only person from my company. So I was sitting in my hotel room on the first night and like kind of hemming and hawing going to the opening party because, I'm a mom of two young kids. So sitting in a hotel room in a different city and being able to like have alone time and watch TV and, eat takeout food kind of sounded amazing. But I was scrolling through my Twitter feed on the CM World hashtag, and I saw somebody had posted that they too were at CM World on their own for the first time. Did anyone want to hang out? So I responded, and there was a core group of us who ended up hanging out together the whole week. We attended sessions together. We went to the social events together. We sat next to each other in keynote. I even rode to the airport with some of them. So, really getting out of your comfort zone to meet new people and do different things is a lot better than sometimes just sitting in a hotel room by yourself watching TV. But that was also an opportunity for me to meet folks who were part of the Twitter chats that CM World has every week. And that's actually how Dennis and I met. We had interacted with each other on the Twitter chats prior to the conference. And then we had the tweet up where we had the opportunity to put the face to the Twitter handle and really actually get to know each other in real life, IRL, if you will. So, that was a really good experience, but I was also really nervous because it's so easy to be behind a screen and just interact on Twitter, but to meet people in person, that might be a little bit uncomfortable for people, including me. But it was a really good opportunity for me to meet folks and get out there and get out of my comfort zone. So those are just a few ways that I've worked to kind of build my network. And then I wanted to share a few tips around how to actually use your network or work your network, if you will. So shout it from the rooftops. What does that mean? When I got laid off from my job, I took to LinkedIn and I did all the things you're supposed to do on LinkedIn when you're looking for a job, right? I put my open to work banner on my profile picture. I changed my settings to let recruiters know I was available. I also, made a post about it to share with my network. But something that I did that I don't think many people necessarily think to do is I went on Facebook and I made a post on Facebook that I had lost my job. And the outpouring of support, even from people who I haven't spoken to in years, was amazing. One particular situation was a girl that I went to high school with, who I have not spoken to since 10th grade newspaper class, reached out to me and let me know that she was actually she leads a content marketing team at IBM. And I had no idea, because here I was just mindlessly scrolling through Facebook, liking pictures of, her kids' activities or whatever. But on the flip side, I didn't realize that we had similar careers. So, that was something that was a result of my Facebook post. And another example of that is a guy who was my youth group leader in middle school reached out to me and said, "Hey, this is my company. Go look and see if there are any opportunities there, and let me know if there's anything that you want me to refer you for." So, sometimes people dismiss social media, but I think that it's important for us to, really shout it from the rooftops, because in my opinion, you never know where that next opportunity is going to come from. So it could be from, your best friend's aunt's cousin or something that on Facebook, or it could be, from like your best friend Nancy, like was my experience. But just shout it from the rooftops, tell anyone and everyone, don't be ashamed. Um, and you will be surprised at the outpouring of support that you can get. Um, with regards to paying it forward, I I really like to help people. It is something that I feel like I don't do enough. But an example of this is a few weeks before my layoff, I attended Inbound, which is another sales and marketing conference. And I met a girl named Sarah in a virtual networking breakout room. And she shared that she was looking for a job at the time. So they were literally cutting us off and about to end the session. And I just like yelled at her, "Connect with me on LinkedIn," because I wanted to help her. So she did. And we ended up meeting up like the next week on Zoom. And we just kind of brainstormed different angles she could take in her job search. I offered to review her resume, shared some resources with her, and just really tried to be that kind of support system, because she had been out of work for a long time. And I almost felt like she felt kind of forgotten. And so I really wanted to show her that people were here for her to support her. Fast forward a couple weeks later, and I was in the same situation. I was in the same boat looking for a job, and I hit her up and I said, "Hey, I just lost my job, so I'm, out there looking for something as well." And so she was very supportive, on the flip side. And so, I'm a huge proponent of being available to support others. And I really feel like when you give stuff like that out, you will get it back in return. Uh, Never burn a bridge. This one, I think, is always easier said than done, but it's a really important one. So my example for this one is that I had a manager at one point in my career who was so tough. She was very direct. She had very high expectations, and she would be the first to tell you if you didn't meet her expectations. So we had a really good working relationship, though, because while I was on her team, we did the Strength Finder survey. And my number one strength of harmony was her very last strength. So we balance each other out really well. And she actually had to lay me off from the position that I was in. So rather than get bitter and take it personal, I kept it very professional, and tried to keep that relationship open, um, because like you always hear, never burn that bridge. Well, fast forward about a year and a half later, and she was building a new team that was being developed because of an acquisition. And she hit me up and said, "Hey, I'm creating this new team. I want you on it. Do you want to come back and work for me?" And I knew what I was getting myself into, and I was really grateful for the opportunity. And so I took that job. Even though she had laid me off, it wasn't personal, but here she was, coming back and bringing me another opportunity. So even this last go round in my job search, I hit her up, and she is at a completely new company and offered to refer me for a position that they had at her new job. So that was an opportunity to work with her, but not necessarily for her again. But, burning that bridge would have put my career on a completely different path, because when I got laid off from the job that I was working with her initially in, I switched into a sales support role. And that was not something that I wanted to do. And I had been actually looking really hard to get back into marketing. So in a way, she almost kind of saved me. So never burn that bridge. And in fact, she is actually still on my Christmas card list and will be getting a Fair Family Christmas card again this year. So here in the next couple of weeks. Lastly, identify your champions. Like, know your people. Who are the core people that you know that you can go to, who will always have your back? For me, it's Joy and Nancy. So my tip for you is find you a Joy and a Nancy. These are the people that you text during a layoff. These are the people that you call to vent about the latest executive shenanigans that you're having to deal with. These are the people that you go to lunch with, years after you have stopped working together, because you just developed that kind of relationship beyond, work and more into that personal relationship. I'm not saying, you need 8,000 champions, but really identify your core group of people who you have, that they have your back, but also that you have their back as well, because it definitely goes both ways. So those are some of my pieces of advice to build and work your network. And I wanted to kind of relate this to how we as marketers, really the work that we do in our jobs to acquire audiences and nurture those relationships and then, convert them, that can translate into our professional network as well. So, we're really good at identifying our target personas and creating relevant content to engage with them. We have to nurture those relationships and then make sure that we're moving people through the pipeline and converting those leads. And then really the ultimate goal of producing advocates for our brand, our product, our service. Well, we as marketers are really good at marketing a brand, product, and service, but I just want to make sure that we're also good at marketing ourselves. So I tried to kind of line this up to show how the work that we're doing in our jobs can relate to our professional networks as well. So, we're constantly working to build our network. Things like this meetup is a great way to do that. Even silly things like getting a new job and working with a new vendor, there's another way for you to expand your network as well. And then, we use different platforms to develop content that's going to resonate with our audience. So we take to LinkedIn or Twitter to really engage with folks. I was using LinkedIn and Twitter in my old job to post, I wrote a blog, go look at my blog. But when I was in my job search, I made it a personal mandate to post like 3 times a week to make sure that I was still, getting out there, letting people know that I'm still here. I'm looking for a job, but I'm still here. And when I would post about my blogs for my job, I'd get like maybe 100 views, maybe 1 or 2 likes. But when I was posting about my job search, one post that I made that really resonated was a conversation that I had with my 5-year-old, who is way too smart for her own good. And she noticed that I wasn't, holing up in my room to work every day like I had been for the last 2 days or 2 years. So she asked me, Mommy, what happened to your job? And I said to her, well, I get to find a new one. And she was like, oh, you're so lucky. And I ended my post with Indeed. And I put a couple hashtags like #workmom. And that post got so much engagement that it was like 7,000 views and over 100 reactions. No ransomware blog that I wrote had ever gotten that much engagement. So, but then, I could take that information and kind of optimize the content that I'm sharing to try to get, that more engaging content to post and share. And so, something that we do in our work life is something that is super easily transferable, into our personal professional network. Um, and then, just nurturing relationships. I know that right now that's kind of hard, but if you were working in an office before the pandemic, and you would, let's say you would, pass somebody on the way to the coffee machine every day. Was the last time that you passed them in March the last time you actually talked to them? Why not reach out and, offer to do a Zoom coffee chat? That was something that somebody actually offered to do for me when I lost my job. So I had the opportunity to reconnect with someone. But, really nurturing those relationships. If you see someone on LinkedIn who's looking for a job, hit them up, say, how can I help you? Don't leave it open ended. My recommendation is be very specific, because it's so easy for us to say, oh, let me know how I can help you. But on the flip side, if you say, let me look at your resume, do you want to meet with so and so who might be a good connection for you? Let's talk, let's brainstorm different things that you can do to help with your search. Really nurture those relationships. Keep it a two-way street, and don't always expect for other people to reach out. Sometimes you need to be the one to take that initiative as well. So finally, find your Joy or your Nancy. Know your advocates who are going to champion you and be on your side, no matter what. So that was what I had for y'all today, Dennis. I will kick it back to you if there's questions.
Thanks so much, Amy. Thanks for sharing that, your recent journey, as well as a lot of your past stories. It's really great. I guess I'll start with a question. If it's amazing how quickly you went from being laid off in October to finding your current job. Is there anything you would have done differently?
Yes. um, I I think in the flurry of all of the things that were going on, I took the first thing that came my way, and I didn't really um, weigh options, or give it. Maybe I didn't give it enough time, if that makes sense. I was actually turning down calls for interviews after I accepted this job, and it's hard. Looking back, it's hard because, like I said, I have two little ones. I'm actually in a unique situation in that I work and my husband watches the kids. So to get a layoff, when you're the breadwinner, it's hard. And so when you have to support these faces that you created, and take care of your people, I don't regret that. But I think that if I had given it maybe some more time and not jumped on something so quickly, there might have been other opportunities as well.
Got it.